The city of Lagos was alive, its streets buzzing with energy, music, and the intoxicating aroma of spicy jollof rice. It was nothing like Mumbai, where Aarav Mehta had spent his entire life. A 32-year-old businessman, Aarav had come to Nigeria for an investment deal, expecting to seal a contract and return home. The sun hung low over the bustling streets of Lagos, casting a golden hue over the city as Aarav Mehta stepped out of Murtala Muhammad International Airport. The heat was intense, wrapping around him like a thick blanket, but it was nothing compared to the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside him. He had traveled to many places before: London, New York, Dubai. But Nigeria was different. This was uncharted territory. His father, Vikram Mehta, had sent him here to finalize an important business deal. Mehta and Sons Group was expanding into Africa, and Nigeria was the perfect market. Everything had been arranged: meetings, accommodations, and a carefully planned schedule. Aarav was expected to sign contracts, shake hands, and return home in 2 weeks. Nothing more, nothing less. But fate had other plans. From the moment Aarav stepped into the heart of Lagos, he was captivated. The city was alive, chaotic yet vibrant, loud yet full of rhythm. Street vendors called out to passers-by, Danfo buses weaved through traffic with reckless abandon, and Afrobeat music pulsed through the air. It was overwhelming, exhilarating. And then he met her. Amara. On his second day in Lagos, Aarav and his colleague Raj entered a small local buka, a roadside eatery famous for serving the best traditional Nigerian dishes. The flavors in the air were overwhelming yet enticing: grilled suya, hot pepper soup, egusi with pounded yam. As he struggled to place an order, a soft, confident voice spoke behind him. "Let me help you," she said, her voice rich and confident. Aarav turned, and for the first time in his life, words failed him. She was stunning. Deep brown skin that glowed under the soft light, full lips curved into a knowing smile, and dark, intelligent eyes that seemed to see right through him. She wore a simple Ankara dress, yet she carried herself with an effortless grace that made her stand out. He watched as she effortlessly navigated the menu, explaining each dish with a passion that was infectious. "You have to try the jollof," she teased. "But if you say Ghana's is better, I'll never speak to you again." Aarav chuckled, charmed by her humor. Noted. That moment changed everything. What was meant to be a quick meal turned into hours of conversation. Amara wasn't just beautiful, she was brilliant. A journalist with dreams of building her own media empire, she was fiercely independent, unapologetically ambitious. Unlike Aarav, who had been born into privilege, Amara had fought for everything she had. She was passionate about culture, history, and storytelling. She challenged him, intrigued him, made him question things he had never questioned before. And before he knew it, he was falling. It started with simple things: casual meetups, late-night conversations, strolls through the streets of Lagos. She introduced him to the city in a way no business meeting ever could. She took him to art galleries, hidden street food spots, and even a traditional Yoruba wedding, where he watched in awe as dancers moved to the beat of talking drums. In return, he told her about Mumbai, its festivals, its crowded streets, the scent of masala chai that lingered in the air. He taught her Hindi phrases, laughing at her attempts to pronounce them, and in exchange, she taught him Igbo proverbs, delighting in his struggle to get the intonations right. Their worlds were different, yet somehow they fit. But love is never that simple. Aarav's father called one evening, his tone clipped, expectant. The deal must be closed by next week, Aarav. And remember, when you return, we will finalize your engagement with Priya. Priya. A woman he had known all his life. The perfect Indian bride. His parents had arranged their marriage years ago, and until now, Aarav had never questioned it. But then came Amara, and suddenly everything he had accepted as his future no longer felt like his choice. The first person to notice the change in him was Raj. Aarav, you're distracted, and it's because of her, isn't it? Aarav didn't deny it. Raj sighed. Look, I get it, but your parents will never accept this. You know that, right? Aarav knew. But knowing didn't make it any easier. The real test came when Amara found out about Priya. You're engaged? Her voice was quiet, but the hurt was deafening. Aarav felt his heart constrict. Amara, it's not what you think. It was arranged a long time ago. But you never said anything, she cut in. You let me fall for you. He reached for her, but she pulled away. Do you love her? No. The answer was immediate, certain. Then what are you going to do about it? That was the question, wasn't it? Back in India, Priya had begun to notice the distance. At first, she thought it was just stress from work. But then she saw the messages. The way Aarav's face changed when he read them. The hesitation in his replies to her, compared to the eagerness in his responses to Amara. One evening, she confronted him. Aarav, she said softly. Who is she? He looked up sharply, guilt flashing in his eyes. Priya, you love her, don't you? Silence. That was all the confirmation she needed. For a long moment, she just stared at him. Then finally, she sighed. Aarav, I don't want to marry a man who is in love with someone else. His breath caught. Priya, I never meant for this to happen. She gave him a sad smile. I know, but it did. That night, she made a decision. The next morning, Priya stood before his parents. I can't marry Aarav, she said simply. His mother gasped. What are you saying? Priya met Aarav's father's gaze. I'm saying that a man should have the right to choose who he loves, and Aarav has already chosen. Aarav's father was furious. His mother begged him to reconsider. But for the first time in his life, Aarav stood his ground. I love Amara, he said firmly, and I won't live my life in chains. Days later, he was on a flight back to Lagos when Amara opened her door and saw him standing there, drenched from the rain. She froze. Why are you here? She whispered. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Inside was a ring, half Indian gold, half Nigerian coral beads, a blend of two cultures, two worlds. Because I choose you, he said simply. Not tradition, not expectations, just you. Tears filled Amara's eyes. Aarav, I love you, he said, stepping closer, and I'll fight for us, if you'll have me. She stared at him for what felt like forever. Then, finally, she smiled. A year later, their wedding was a masterpiece. Bollywood met Nollywood, samosas met suya, saris met Ankara. They had defied tradition, chosen love over expectations. And in the end, they proved that love isn't about where you come from. It's about who you choose.